Once in a while, a game comes along that not only revolutionizes the series, but it revolutionizes the entire genre. It takes everything you know and refines it almost to perfection, and you can't imagine playing the game any other way. Now, today we're going to be talking about Hitman World of Assassination, and this is a You Review It, a review that was done by Adam Miller of the Elite Institute, who I can confidently say is an expert in all that is Hitman. Hitman in general has never been a game that is about one overarching story. Sure, there's been one, but it's not very riveting. In fact, most of the enjoyment of the game comes from just the little mini tales that we are told during our missions as we're targeting our next possible assassination. And these are the little things that really get you through the game and really give you some depth to what the game is. Unfortunately, World of Assassination falls to the same tropes. Many times we take on contracts from shadowy figures, and then we're inevitably betrayed as we start to learn a connection between the targets that we're going after. Now, all of these tropes are very standard for Hitman games, and again, World of Assassination falls to that same thing. But the amazing thing is, the little missions, the mini tales like I spoke of before, that is where this game thrives, as these have some of the best lore that we've seen in any Hitman game. And not only in settings and environment, but also with some truly vile targets that were sent to assassinate. Everything going from a mafia leader developing a special virus in a secret lab underneath his mansion, to a medieval mansion hosting an Eyes Wide Shut style gathering of the Illuminati type group. Each one of these levels feels unique and believable, but in a silly, over-the-top way. Now, there's so much for you to enjoy just in the environment itself of each level, and a lot to explore. Not to mention the creativity that it can take to take down a target, or multiple targets. One of the fun things about the game is just deciding which character you're going to kind of take over, if you're going to at all. A disguise is sort of the best way to get close to your target. Do you want to be someone that's in their gang? Do you want to be maybe someone they hired? The options are almost limitless, but when you're inside of these gargantuan playgrounds, once you get used to it, you really enjoy it. But I think that's part of the concern once you get used to it. If you're used to more of a linear style game, you might feel a little lost, or maybe without help, which is where your objectives come in, and how these stories sort of just guide you. They help you. They hold your hand through a lot of the process that there is, while also letting you know, like, hey, you can come back and try this a different way. But during that first initial run, you kind of really need someone to just kind of help you figure out what to do and how to do it, and so forth and so on. Now, looking at the trilogy as a whole, the first game was released in 2016 in an episodic format, and was quite well received for the time, though it truly does contain some of the absolute bangers. But it also contains one of the worst levels ever in Hitman history. On the other hand, we have one of the truly great levels from this game, and that is set in a high-tech Japanese hospital. It really makes the most of the game's disguise mechanic to the fullest. Add to some excellent and gruesome kill opportunities, and it's a level I can come back to again and again and again. Every level, except for that tedious Bangkok hotel, actually has some gameplay to come back to, some mechanics that you may have missed, and some opportunities to really have some fun in those giant playgrounds. Again, except for the Bangkok hotel. I would avoid that. Having to go through that once is enough. The second entry, while probably had the strictest budget, did also really go all in on levels, as where it lacked fully animated cutscenes, and really starts off on a bad note with a very small, weak tutorial level. It then bursts out into Miami, which is arguably one of the fans' favorite levels in the entire game. Not to say that the rest of them are bad, in fact even the DLC is really banging. But Miami is kind of looked at one of those favorites from a lot of people. It's gargantuan. It has so much to do and so much to explore, and many opportunities for that creativity to come out in you. Now, the third one is arguably the easiest game, and if I'm being honest, it's probably my favorite game, as this game starts you off in a huge, lavish skyscraper interior set in Dubai. It's such an enjoyable mission with so much to do, but it's still nowhere near the best the game has to offer. That award has to go to either Chongqing with its atmospheric streets and hidden underground facility, or to Berlin, and, well, you'll figure it out. The only real gripe with the game has to be with the final mission, as it's rather linear, but thankfully, it really is just the beginning of things to happen, as the extra content in this game is expansive, to say the least. There's different modes, there's an escalation encounter, which is available upon selecting each map. You'll notice some extra mission available. Now, these encounters offer an alternate assassination target. They change things up slightly and task you with taking them out in certain ways. They start off pretty simple and then gradually get more and more difficult. While there are a number of escalation encounters, there is another mode that is available that becomes really awesome, which is the Contract Creator. Now, in the Contract Creator, you basically are allowed to create your own assassination missions. Contracts are created by highlighting any NPC in the level and taking them out however you like. Other limitations can be added as well to make things either more difficult or maybe even just add more creativity. There are literally so many modes and bonus content that I just honestly don't have the time to talk about it, and especially because I want to at least hit on the new game mode that has gotten so many people excited, and that is Freelancer mode. This is a roguelike mode that sees you take control of Agent 47 from his own private safe house, taking on randomly generated contracts against crime syndicates. At the very beginning, you'll have nothing but an unsilenced pistol, but as you go through the game, you'll be able to collect more and more weapons. Each contract has a different set of locations as well as a particular gameplay style to choose from. Whilst assassin style might ask you to use more subtlety, the arms dealer style will encourage you to go with heavy weaponry. Perhaps poisoning or accidental kills are your style, or perhaps you want to simply try your luck at something completely random. The choice is up to you. Each location has a randomly assigned set of targets for you to take out, as well as suppliers, safes, and couriers to take advantage of. Couriers and safes are simple ways to earn extra money, whereas suppliers will give you a chance to use that cash to buy something useful. Crates can be found too for some minor items that could be helpful during the mission, but you'll generally have to deal with what you've got. Successfully completing a mission will earn you some of the game's currency, but the real money lies in completing the extra objectives, particularly the extra tricky prestige objectives that will grant you a hefty cash payout. Acquired items can be taken back and stored at the safe house ready to use in future missions, but be mindful that if you fail, Agent 47 loses everything that he has. And not only will you lose weapons, you'll also lose a hefty amount of cash. And you definitely want to be mindful about your targets, and if you let go of them in some manner, they can actually result in other missions becoming alerted to your presence, which will not only make the missions harder, but will also cause a complete failure if you happen to mess that one up too. It's a nice trade-off that feels both punishing enough to deter you from wanting to fail, yet also never too punishing to make you want to quit the game. The final mission in each set will always be a showdown mission, which differs from the others by not having a concrete target. Instead, you'll be given a list of suspects who are in town for a meeting, and you need to use the clues that Diana has acquired in order to locate your target. Do they have any distinguishable features, any bad habits? These are things that you'll need to analyze in order to find out who is the leader and deal with them appropriately. And it's at this point that your handy suspect cam becomes invaluable, as this allows you to target which suspects to be worried about and which suspects are not a threat at all. Now, the more details that you go into, the easier it's going to be to figure out who is your prime target. To make things even harder though, these missions also include extra NPCs known as lookouts, who will act as an extra enforcer and can see through your disguises. Potential suspects can also be protected by assassins too, who appear to be normal NPCs except for they're armed and dangerous, and should you try anything funny, one wrong move could result in your death, or alert the suspects and cause them to flee, both of which will result in your failure. And this is really a satisfying game loop. Now, the one thing to note is that there's going to be issues when you have a game this large, but there is going to be an even bigger issue when this game is on the Switch and it's a cloud version. But honestly, it's not as bad as one would anticipate. With my 50 megabyte per second wireless speed, the game runs fine most of the time, but with an occasional chug now and then, these issues tend to vary based on time of day and rather the intensity of what's going on in the game. They are severe enough to be noticeable even when playing in performance mode, but thankfully the game's slower pacing works wonders for alleviating this slowdown, as you can usually push through it, but it's rare moments that you get into a firefight and it can make aiming really troublesome. There's also an auto aiming system that really helps counter this, but this really shouldn't be an issue in the first place. After purchasing an internet adapter so I could plug my normal Switch in via a cable, I found that these issues did noticeably improve. But your results may vary. At the end of the day, these are really the only issues with the game. It's massive, there is so much to do, and it's so expansive that it really seems like this is one of those forever games. You know, a game that you can almost keep playing forever. I have to thank Adam for an amazing review. The dude is legitimately talented, and if you notice that I sounded better than normal, it's because those are his words, not mine. I speak like a Neanderthal. But, I do have some questions that I'd like to ask him. For one, I have a much faster than 50 megabyte speed internet, so I'm wondering how well Hitman 3 would run on my system, but also about the OLED dock, where it has its own Ethernet port, and wondering how that would also translate into a better sustainability. I don't know, though. These are all questions that I probably should find out for myself. But these are Adam's thoughts on Hitman, World of Assassination, and it really sounds like there is just so much to this game. I gotta be honest, I haven't checked it out since Hitman 3 originally came out, and I sort of just didn't, I don't know, it's a very slow-paced game for me personally, but I think a lot of people really like that aspect, and they like the stealth combat. I, at the time, really didn't, but I could see myself really getting back into it. I don't know, I think I'm going to give it a shot. Anyway, though, please let me know what your guys' thoughts are, and let Adam know how amazing he is and how amazingly talented he is. He's an awesome dude, and I appreciate his hard work, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Now for the laundry list of things I expect out of you. I'm kidding, but I would appreciate you guys to sub, to like, to check out Adam's site, which I will have linked in the description below. All of that would be so much appreciated. I really appreciate you guys, and I'm sure he will appreciate any kind words sent his way as well. So thank you guys so much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.